What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mean Enough Podcast. I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is the podcast where we talk about your favorite filmmakers and all their films and the themes within those films, and a little deeper with that as well. Thank you for joining us once again, guys. We did PTA last week, and the week before that, we did a two-part series on Paul Thomas Anderson. And this week, I decided, because I just felt like this would be a fun one, to do a Taika Waititi episode in honor of Infinity War week, because he did one of the last movies in the MCU.
Or he did Ryan Coogler.
Yeah,
so that was
we
the
did
most
Ryan
recent
Coogler.
one.
And he has a small filmography as well. Taika has a small filmography, so I think that's fair enough, I guess you can say.
Yeah, plus when we did the meeting of Marvel Studios, we never got around to doing Thor Ragnarok. So
very true.
This is a good time for us to formally cover Thor Ragnarok.
Very true. I personally love Taika Waititi. I've been a fan of Flight of the Conchords, like a massive fan for years. So learning about Taika and kind of following his filmography through small movies, through shorts that he did, till now, to one of the biggest freaking Marvel movies ever. And he was on my top 5 list too for top 5 directors of 2017. Yeah. Not top 5 as far as like the best directors, but I thought he was one of the most impactful directors of the year, bringing his signature New Zealand brand of comedy into the MCU. Because the MCU is known just as much for its characters and its action as much as its comedy, whether that's good or bad. Because a lot of people say it's bad, depending on which movie. But Taika bringing in his signature super New Zealand, super Australian, deadpan style of comedy, and improv comedy too, is something that's original, considering you're in a world of 17 films that all do comedy in some sort of way that people like or dislike in other ways too. I mean, think about Guardians, right? Guardians is like, especially Volume 2. Guardians 1, for the most part, people enjoyed the brand of comedy that it brought. But Volume 2, some people didn't like it. Some people didn't like the comedy. And to those people, you say what, RB3?
Fuck y'all. Because Guardians 2 is a masterpiece. Thank you very much.
You know what's funny, dude? I just had my family in town last week. My mom and my brother have never seen Volume 2.
Really?
They never. And my brother was like, "Oh, we've never seen Volume 2." Because every time my family's in town, we have to watch movies. And we try to watch movies that we haven't seen. And it's hard because I've seen a lot. And it's hard because they've seen a lot, too. Because they kind of follow all the movies I watch. But they haven't seen Volume 2. So we saw Volume 2, which is on Netflix. Dude, it was great, dude.
Yeah.
It's so much fun watching, like, basically a comedy, an action style comedy with my family, because they both enjoy that kind of comedy. And I had subtitles for my mom too, which was fun. And dude, I told my mom going in, I'm like, Mom, I'm telling you right now, my favorite 2 characters, and I'm kind of, making her like submit to my point of view. And I said my favorite 2 characters are Drax and Mantis. I'm curious what you think of them, because my buddy who saw it with me, Volume 2, he was like, "Oh, dude, he's so annoying." And I'm like, "Annoying? He was hysterical." He's like the best part of the movie. I thought Batista was the best part of the movie. And I thought Mantis was the best part of the movie too. I thought their dynamic was the best part of the movie. So I thought it was funny how my buddy had the complete opposite interpretation of that. But I thought it was funny too how my mom freaking loved him, dude. My mom was just like, it was so funny because my mom had this theme going on. She was like convinced that they were gonna end up together at the end.
Really?
She's like, watch, he keeps calling her ugly, but at the end he's gonna come back around and he's gonna freaking fall in love with this girl, because he's totally gonna see the error of his ways by calling her ugly. And at the very end, at Yondu's funeral scene, when she's like, "And you're beautiful too." And my mom was like, "See, I told you," on the inside. Oh, like she lost it, dude. Like I lost it too, because I thought that was so funny. Because that's my favorite part of the Volume 2. But my point is, Ragnarok also brought that kind of feel of the MCU, where some people absolutely loved it, like times 10, like me. I called it one of the all-time best MCU movies, and some people thought that it was a little too comedic. Like this douchebag right here. No,
whoa, wait a minute. Now, we'll say, after seeing Ragnarok twice, after I saw it, I had a process. We'll talk about it more when we see it. But I grew on it a little bit. And, third time seeing that, fell back a little bit. So like we're having an interesting discussion there.
All right, all right. Taika's filmography is filled with a bunch of small movies. That's what's great about Taika Waititi, is that he's an independent director. But before we jump into them, guys, let's read your comments from last week's episode. I almost forgot. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, you're gonna jump right into it.
Let's talk. We did PTA. Gunslinger 199. This is an easy one. Says Inherent Vice is definitely the worst. We both agreed with that.
I think, yeah.
I agree with Greedy Reader says, I agree with Ace on the Phantom Thread score. It was stunning. There you go. That's the right thing to do. Agree with me. Just playing. You said it was a little too much score.
Well, I don't like 90 minutes of anything, you know?
Hey, man. What you trying to say? I didn't even catch that. I was going to keep going, but hey, man. By the way, guys, it's hot. It's a hot, sunny day in Southern California.
You know, if you notice, usually I have my buttons buttoned.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
The top button always.
I think by the end of this episode, guys, you're going to see the most sweat you've ever seen in a video on the SK Plus channel. So we're about to break records. Tenacious says, I'll take Inherent Vice over Hard 8 and Punch Drunk Love, but I'm aware I'm a bigger fan of those than most. I love Newsom as a narrator, and bigs up to Surf Jan, Desus and Mero, and Atlanta. Oh, yeah. We totally name-dropped, or I name-dropped Desus and Mero. And we always talk about Atlanta. Dude, yeah. Atlanta's still fire, bro.
Man, Atlanta's great. Well,
Atlanta's fire.
I feel like it turned
we should do like an Atlanta after show or some shit.
What happened? Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
because who else is doing
of
that?
Atlanta? You know, it's
for real, that'd be dope. That'd be dope. For real.
We should do that.
I'm not like you say it and I laugh, but I'm like, shit, that's actually dope. That's a dope
each episode.
podcast.
I feel like this is the problem though. I feel like the first season is more of a comedy. This season's more of a drama. You know what I mean? Like this season's more...
It is. That's such a good point. Yeah. It's a drama with comedic moments.
Yeah.
Whereas like, well, I mean, that last episode was like pure drama, basically.
Like
I mean,
the
there
last
was a
two
few...
of them. Like the last two of them. Well, the Teddy Perkins was like straight up horror.
But it's still horror with like a wink of comedy, I guess you could say.
Well, I didn't even know Donald Glover. I didn't even know Donald Glover played Teddy Perkins. Like,
I did, and I knew going in, which kind of I wish I didn't know going in.
I literally didn't know until like a week later.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah. I was like, what? And like I read it.
Do you watch it like live?
I watched it like a couple of days late. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always watch. Me too.
Except for the Teddy Perkins one, I didn't get to like until like the next Tuesday after, just cause. But then like usually I try and get them like the day or the next day or whatever. Like but seasons definitely like leans way more on the dramatic side, especially like the solo episodes. Like each one gets like darker and darker. I feel
it is, yeah.
But I really enjoyed the last one with homie.
What's his name?
Paperboy.
What's the actor's name though?
I forget the actor's name.
Dude.
But yeah, you know, it was a whole tribute to like his mother and stuff. Yeah. Like that was real powerful, man. Yeah. I don't know, man. Atlanta just keeps getting better and better. Hope they keep the they got to keep. Hopefully, I mean the ratings for Atlanta is doing good, man. The ratings for Legion are horrible, man. People need to watch Legion. Legion.
I will confess that I am one of those. I am one of the reasons why.
Oh my god,
Legion's doing terrible. No. I've seen 2 episodes of season 1.
Watch,
and Legion. I swear I didn't stop watching it because I didn't like it. I just fell off for some reason. I think I'd love the show. To be honest, like everything I see from it that people talk about, I'm like, I would dig this show. I just never watch it. Yeah. I end up watching something else. My bad. I want to see Legion. Let's do one more. The Dance Party says, hey, 2 of my favorites, Ace and RB3. Thank you for showing love to Spider-Man 2 on Collider's Top 50. Yo, that's a callback.
Yeah, that was wild.
I think he just got to it. Yo, Spider-Man 2, man, best Spider-Man movie. I said it in that video. I still think Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man movie. I know a lot of people say Homecoming is, but Spider-Man 2 is the shit. Like I rewatched that one a couple months ago, and I was like, this is dope. I love that movie.
Sam Raimi, one of the goats.
Let's jump into Taika. So Taika, the thing about Taika, what I love about Taika is that he's so true to home, and that he's so true to New Zealand, and he's so true to that, not just the brand of humor, but the heart of New Zealand, I guess, if that makes sense, and the people of New Zealand. Like he always puts someone from New Zealand into one of his films, and he always incorporates some sort of New Zealand feel into his films. I know a lot of people are attached to that accent, bro. I told you before we started the episode that I'm going to do the entire podcast in a New Zealand accent.
No.
Because it's such a distinct accent, and it's such a funny accent, because it's a weird meshing of like British and Australian, yet not really Australian, yet really similar to Australian.
Well, it's also, you know, a lot of his work is also like New Zealand, but it's also like Polynesian too, like real reflective of like the Polynesian culture and the way of living inside little sub community inside of New Zealand. So I think it's parts of that too, like the Polynesian kind of like the softness. I don't know if I've been to Hawaii once, man. If you go to Hawaii, man, all the nicest people in the world, man. Everybody is just like the coolest. Kind of they talk, you know, polite, and I feel like that's a lot of what he captures here is like the politeness of like the insanity,
the politeness.
Yeah.
No, it's great. I have been to Hawaii too, but I also had there was like a Polynesian group within my Phoenix community, because I lived with a ton of like Filipinos, and I knew a bunch of people from New Zealand. Fun fact, I fell in love with a freaking New Zealand Polynesian girl when I was like 19 years old. And I was like, I'm moving to New Zealand. This is my girl. This is my wife. It's going to happen. Didn't happen. She married a white boy. No. And she's like a Polynesian New Zealand girl. And I was like, damn it. I know she's probably listening right now. She's not listening right now. She's way above my pay grade.
Oh, man. I wonder what happened to that ace guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
5 years ago.
No. But yeah, man, so I knew a ton of like New Zealand people. Like I knew like a rugby player who played like semi-pro rugby in New Zealand, which is like huge over there. So yeah, for me it's like one of my best friends, Sheldon, was from New Zealand, and that girl too, Elizabeth, really? Shout out to her. Was from, I know I said her name.
Hey, people,
like Drake. I just name dropped. I just name dropped these girls.
Let's find Elizabeth.
No, please don't. Oh no, I got in so much trouble.
This podcast.
But she's great. Anyways, back to reality. So I did know a lot of people from that area. So it is something that's very true. Polynesian people have their own style. I learned to do the freaking, what is it, the kamate, ha, the one they do before every rugby game and stuff. It's great. It's fun. I love doing that. Yeah. But you're right. It is that kind of signature Polynesian mixture of New Zealand brand of style that he brings to every one of his films, and I love that. He really came to prominence with comedy when he started his comedic group. He had a comedy troupe, I don't know what you call it, improv group.
Yeah, a troupe, I don't know.
Yeah, like a comedy improv group that we have a ton of here in LA.
Literally around the corner.
Literally, bro. Everyone's in an improv team. I want to be in an improv team too, bro. I for real, I'm not hating.
It's like how, isn't Brett used to be in like a big one, like Brett Sheridan, he used to be in a pretty famous one, I think.
Yeah, Brett's awesome, dude. He's hysterical. But speaking of Brett, what's his name? Britt from Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, I didn't watch Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, so. Dude. All right, let's start with Flight of the Conchords. So let's start out. I know we usually don't do TV. I'm not really gonna break that rule, but I want to mention it. I don't know if that's okay. Is that okay, RB3?
Yeah,
are you gonna be pissed at me, bro? So for me, he started out with Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords, who you probably know from What We Do in the Shadows. He plays one of the vampires. I forget his name in the film. And then Britt, who... It's funny. His name is Brett, but it's pronounced Brit. So I'm just going to call him Brit the entire podcast. But with him, as well as some other guys from Flight of the Conchords. But Flight of the Conchords, man, let me tell you about... So it's basically like two New Zealand guys, musicians, who are like big... who consider themselves to be big musicians in New Zealand, move to New York and kind of have like a cultural experience of freaking Aziz Ansari's in it. Kristen Wiig makes some appearances.
I've definitely seen like... episodes like
clips. You've seen it? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And they make music together, and they make the weirdest music. I don't know if you've heard the music or you've seen the music videos. Dude, my buddies and I back in high school, I'm talking like 15-year-old me, were like obsessed with Flight of the Conchords. Like I'm talking like memorize the songs. I'm talking like learn how to play it on the guitar. Really? Like we were into it. We thought it was hysterical, and I still think it's hysterical. I still think it holds up. But basically, that super deadpan style of comedy in the music world is what it is. So they're going to agents and they're like, what do you mean you don't like music? That's okay. I thought it was cool, but if you don't like it, like, and it's just so like the weird kind of comedic moments that you have in the music world with New Zealand dudes, and it's just, I think it's hysterical, and I think it's like, it's technically like a musical too, which is even funnier because they like they go to a party and he like falls in love with a girl and he breaks out in song, but it's like a really awkward song, and it's one of those things that's missing in the musical world. The really awkward deadpan comedy style of musical that is not really super popular, but that's basically what Flight of the Conchords is. And they have albums and stuff, they have concerts.
Oh, wow.
I almost went to a concert of theirs because I'm that big of a fan. But that is I mean, Taika directed some episodes. He's credited as like one of the creators of the show as well.
Really? Okay.
A lot of it is Jermaine and Brett, so you know, shout out to them. But that's definitely something worth mentioning on a Taika Waititi episode. But technically, he got his prominence from that comedy troupe, that improv group. And then he did a short film.
Yeah. Well, he broke off to start doing his own stand-up comedy too.
Correct, he did,
there, yeah.
and I've seen some of it, which is still I still think it's funny.
Yeah.
He did a short film, an Oscar-nominated short film. I think it's maybe Oscar-winning.
It was nominated for sure.
Nominated. Yeah. Called Two Cars One Night, which features a young actor, and he likes working with like young actors because he features another one in. Boy, it might be the same actor. But have you seen Two Cars One Night?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Watched that in like our film school.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Then you can tell me more about it because I haven't seen it.
Oh well, I don't know.
I was about to do a stupid joke. I'd be like, "Shame on you, RB3, you haven't seen it," and I was gonna be like, "I haven't seen it either," and it was gonna be so dumb. But you freaking ruined it.
Yeah.
Because you have seen it. What do you think? I've never seen it.
Well, I don't know. It was a couple years ago.
Okay.
Like, when we just watched a bunch of like big name short films or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, it's pretty interesting because it definitely deals in the same thematic like ideas of like particularly something like Boy, just like the joy of like being young, like riding around in this in these cars, and just I don't know. It's pretty nice, little simple. It's pretty simple.
It's like a love story between a little boy and a little girl, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then it's just like it's kind of in the same way of like Eagle was it Eagle and Shark? Like, yeah. Like there's like kind of like awkward tension between like these two characters like as they're going on this adventure together. So it's I mean, I don't remember like exactly what happened. It's only like 12 minutes, I think. It was pretty short, but like, yeah, it definitely fits when you see like the rest of his filmography of like that little like cutesy, awkward kind of Wes Anderson, Wes Anderson E, or I don't know, whatever. But yeah, that kind of like tone and feel to it. So, but it's still it's set in like New Zealand, like the Polynesian, like kind of same communities that he sets all of his.
It's black and white too, right?
Yeah, black and white. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so
good deal, man.
Yeah.
Cool. You've seen Eagle versus Shark too, right?
Yeah. Some of it, parts of it. Yeah.
Talk to me about Eagle versus Shark. So Eagle versus Shark stars Jermaine Clement, and I'm gonna get the girl's name right now. But it's also like an awkward love story, right?
Yeah. I mean, this one I probably won't be able to comment as fully on because I haven't seen it all. But like,
Lauren Taylor.
For anyone who's
following along.
So that one is very much like a Moonrise Kingdom kind of deal. Like these two just like.
That's probably his biggest inspiration. Would you say Wes Anderson?
Yeah, Wes Anderson. I say Wes Anderson when it comes to like style. I say like Noah Baumbach when it comes to like story wise, like the whole like dysfunctional family, the outsiders from society, like all coming together. I think that's something that runs like throughout all of his, even in something like Thor Ragnarok, like the whole brother relationship. We're gonna talk about that later. It's like the whole dysfunctional family and how like the young people are like trying to cope with that and deal with that. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's also like. The juxtaposition between tragedy and comedy, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
especially with Boy.
Yeah.
But maybe even with Eagle versus Shark, and probably all of his films have some sort of weird interpretation of. I mean, Hunt for the Wilderpeople is another one too, where he deals with like bad situations and shitty situations, but with like ridiculous comedy or situational comedy. As a way to be kind of some sort of icebreaker, or as a way to be some sort of like natural fluidity between real life moments. Like comedy does come up in horrible situations, and to kind of embrace it instead of like reject it, even though I'd probably be the one rejecting it like all the time, because I'm always that guy who's like, it's a bad moment, I have to be in a bad mood, because that's my personality. Right. But I think that's a running theme within all his movies as well, which is also kind of a Wes Anderson thing too, right?
Yeah. And I feel like that's, you know, particularly something like his earlier work like Bottle Rocket and Royal Tenenbaums, with Wes Anderson at least, is very much like the whole idea of like these broken people kind of going through these broken situations, but like making like light of it, like lightheartedness of it, you know, those kind of ordeals too. And I think, you know, but I feel like that's the kind of difference between like Wes Anderson and somebody like Taika Waititi, and also, you know, between like Noah Baumbach and Taika as well, is like that their films feature more of like the upper class, wealthier kind of people who can, you know, who reason with more, not mundane, but kind of just like, you know, circumstantial. I'm going with the Royal Tenenbaum example, like, oh, a brother is in love with like his stepsister. Like, it's kind of a stupid thing, like in the core of it. Whereas something like Boy, for example, is like a kid dealing with his father getting out of prison and like, you know, completely abandoning them, you know. So it's like it's very much like a much bigger, you know, is much more at stake for these like kids, and that's why I think you connect to them so personally. I think that's also why you connect to the characters in something like Eagle versus Shark, because like you see how mundane and how like not like ordinary, but kind of their situation is something that they don't necessarily fit into. They don't fit into the same kind of box that like everybody else fits into. So they have to venture on their own and make their own way outside of their culture. So
sure, it's very much on dealing with true awkward personalities and finding the humor in their, I guess, politeness too.
Yeah, because that's part of it. Awkwardness.
And it's being very true to like truly awkward people, and truly, I mean, because that's reality. Reality isn't, everyone is not, dude, I'm telling you, especially if you're in the nerd world, because people in the nerd world that talk on mics and stuff, everyone's like, they seem put together. No. I'm talking real nerds. Real nerds are not put together like me. I'm not put together. But anyways, like, it's very awkward people. Like, that's kind of, and you just got to embrace it, bro. You just got to dive right in, bro.
Yeah, dive right in.
Especially, like, because I come from, like, the con world, too. Dude, go to cons. If you go to different cons, because you've done the Comic-Con experience.
Couple ones, yeah. The Comic-Con and WonderCon in LA, Kamikaze.
Okay, so you've done like all the big
ones.
Yeah. I've been to a couple like smaller cons. Bro, it goes deep. Really? I'm talking like real, like random ass, nerdy ass conversations you have with people at conventions. And it's just like, it's usually cosplay related or like fandom related. But it's funny, and it's like, I wish I could do like, that'll probably be like my first feature film. It'll be just a comedy set in a Comic-Con. Not Comic-Con, but like a just small con. Just because there is really funny, weird moments that happen. And I always go with my brother, so he's always a witness to it. Really? he's the weird awkwardness of it, and he always like just wants to like freaking jump off a building. Because it's just so weird. But every year, man, Phoenix Comic-Con, shout out to Phoenix Comic-Con, it's always like some weird panel that I go to. And I'm always the icebreaker, because I'm usually the one who's always eager to talk and kind of break that ice. But it's always so funny when you go to a small panel. Go to a small panel, and let's say, like, for example, I went to an Avatar: The Last Airbender panel. And everyone on the panel, I'm going off on a tangent, I'm sorry, everyone on the panel was in character from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Of course, yeah.
So it's like Toph, Katara, Zuko, and they literally come out, and it's like a tiny room, and it's like 20 people in the crowd, and they're like, and they're in character. I mean, they're like, any questions, guys? It's like silence for like 3 minutes, and they're like, what are we doing? Like, no idea what's going on. It's so, I'm telling you, bro, it's hysterical. And it's so awkward. Because it's like, what do you do in an Avatar: The Last Airbender character you know, like in character panel, and I just literally was like, I'm gonna have to be that guy to break the ice and start like
save the con, bro.
Start having like a fight with Toph, or you know, freaking get in a discussion with Katara, and I did, and I was just talking about moments they had in the episodes and stuff. It's like, what happened when you went to Ember Island's Players? Like, what was your favorite scene? Blah blah blah. And I was just doing that stuff, but it was so funny how like. It basically just became me just talking to the cast of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's funny. Wow.
But it's one of those things where Taika is very true to those people, like awkward, weird, outcast people who exist in the real world, and Hollywood doesn't really highlight the real outcast. I mean, they highlight outcasts, but they're always kind of like badass or cool or have some sort of swagger. But Taika always focuses on true New Zealand outcast people who are just really genuinely awkward.
And I think that's what makes the deadpan humor so funny. And I think that's why he relies on that so much, because it just fits so well in the context. And I think that also goes back to the whole tragedy versus comedy thing too. Is like when you see a big traumatic moment happen, he follows it with like just a emotionless, like, close up or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me. To kind of, I'm sorry, whoever the audio listeners are, just had to hear me cough. Yeah, I think it follows that kind of like that deadpan, the tragedy. Whereas in the sad movie, you expect the grandiose, like, emotional reaction. I remember specifically in Hunt for the Wilderpeople, like in the beginning when like the mother like dies, like, and then you expect, and you see like Sam Neill like on the floor crying, oh my god, and you expect the kids to start crying, but it just cuts to like the funeral and like the funny Taika Waititi like minister.
That scene is ridiculous, dude. Oh my god.
So it's like so that kind of helps the comedy along too, I think. Is the pace of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's move on to Boy, which is a film that I know you've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen most of it. Boy is another one that deals with tragedy. Not necessarily. Yeah, well, it is tragedy. Tragedy in difficult situations with comedy, but also with interpretations, and especially with the imagination of a boy, which is funny. It's titled Boy, but it's the imagination of this kid that he's building around his legendary father that he feels like is legendary. When he's coming back from prison, and it's literally about a father who abandoned his son, and how the son really tries to make light, or really tries to make his best version of a difficult situation, and dealing with tragedy and making it with comedy. So what's your opinion on this film?
I've abandoned my boy. I've abandoned my boy. Just got me thinking of the
freaking Daniel Bay.
Blood. Yeah. I've abandoned my son. I don't know. I don't know why that's so random.
Freaking Paul Dano sobbing. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Just freaking Paul. He's so weird in that film. I want to kill Paul Dano so bad in that movie, dude. Well, he
is killed. Yeah. So, Boy. Back to that movie. No, I think
throwbacks to episodes that you haven't even seen, bro. If you haven't seen the PTA episode, you won't get what just happened.
Imagine the Taika Waititi episode getting higher ratings than her all time.
Bro, at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised. But at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if this is our least rated episode.
To our 2 people listening, we salute y'all.
Hey, I'm gonna give this all the shout outs on Twitter. And all them Twitter peeps that keep on following me are going to find a way, and they're going to be like, I like that Taika guy, and this is going to be the highest rated episode. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah. Everybody tweet this at Taika Waititi.
Oh, Taika Waititi retweets it.
Yeah. If we get...
He's like, this small podcast, but these 2 mates talking about my films, and it's pretty shitty, but I still watched it. It's pretty good.
You watched the whole 2 hours, and you're just like, oh, okay, it was pretty bad.
It's sweaty. It looks very sweaty. It's in the air on nights. That's my terrible.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we just need one celebrity retweet, man. It's like Cinema Sins with like Kevin Smith like retweeted like their Avengers thing or whatever. Yeah. Like that just blew up. Like we just need one celebrity retweet.
I'm not holding that. I don't know about you, but I'm not.
I've seen you tweet at like some celebrities like when we like post the episodes, like Guillermo del Toro. You tweeted at.
Yeah. Like I tag him. Yeah.
Tag him. Yeah. Tag him.
I don't technically say, "Hey, watch this."
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like they would. Yeah. But I do tag him. Yeah.
Yeah. You tagged David Duvernay. That one I did. I think that one I was a little more scared about though, because if she saw us, like she kind of saw us ripping into a
Nah, we're being real, man. Why would she? Nah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but
I did. This episode's just so off the rails. Might as well embrace it. I'm like after watching Guardians 2, bro. I became like obsessed with Palm Clementov who plays Mantis.
Oh right.
She's so weird. I love it. Like she like in real life. Like she's actually really weird. And I just freaking love it. But I tweeted. I think it was Instagram at her. I Instagrammed at her because her messages were up. I was like, "Yo, girl, you up?" Because she's in LA for the freaking press tour
for the premiere
of Avengers.
Yeah,
I didn't say you up.
I
just gave her a shout out, but I was just like, she's not gonna read this, but why not? Her DMs were open, bro.
Yeah,
you just gotta take that opportunity.
Any celebrity with open DMs, man, just slide right in them. Just slide right in.
Me too, right?
Yeah.
That's my mentality. Yeah. Like my mentality is, why would you keep it open if you're not expecting people to like? Because most people have it closed. Like when you see Instagram story, and you see just that little arrow that says, you can send it to someone else, but you can't reply. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh, okay, that makes sense because you're famous.
Right.
But when it's open and it has that little space bar, like, what do you want to say about this story? And I'm like, oh, I got a lot to say about this story. But yeah, it's one of these days. Me and Palm are gonna get married and we're gonna look back at this.
Hey man, she could have been the actor that Frosty was talking about in the.
She could have, but I don't know. I don't see that. She's just like, have you seen her in interviews, bro? Like she's very like foreign. Like she's very much like, what was that? Oh, I guess Rocket's cool. Like she's always like really like awkward. She doesn't seem like the kind of person to go off on someone.
Yeah.
Do you have your bets on who that is?
I don't know, man.
You got your Infinity War bets?
I mean, I don't want to listen, man. I hate like conjecturing.
Oh shit!
Of like,
you gotta say it now.
I hate jumping out the window and accusing the black man, but I
think it's Mackie. You know what's funny, bro? I was watching that press junket yesterday. Mackie has a big personality, bro. Yeah. Like I forget because I always like just see Mackie as like, oh, it's Anthony Mackie. He's cool. But he's got a big personality, man. So I don't doubt that.
Did you see the whole thing with him and Man of Steel with Frosty? Like, there's a great clip online where like Frosty had like as Anthony Mackie is like, are you Marvel versus DC? And then Anthony Mackie is like, oh, how can anybody like Man of Steel? And then Frosty's like, I love Man of Steel. And then Anthony Mackie goes off like, I can't read your reviews. If you're a critic and you say you like Man of Steel, you shouldn't be reviewing movies.
Oh shit!
So I think it was a continuation of that.
Oh shit, man! I wish it just got released, man. I think it'd be hysterical. I know. Apologies to Frosty. I mean, he probably wouldn't find
Frosty,
it funny.
Yeah, Frosty's like our boss,
but at the same time, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like Mackie does have a big personality, dude. Yeah. Did you see that? I know you probably didn't, because no one gives a shit about this except me. Did you see the Family Feud MCU thing?
Yeah.
You did see it?
Yeah, I did see it.
Oh my god, did you see Mackie in that? Like he literally called out the Russos and he was like, "You guys are playing this shit wrong." And Russos are like, "What do you mean we're doing it?" And he's like, "Nope, this is wrong. It's all wrong. You guys messed up the whole game." And I'm just like, "Shit." And he was like that serious, dude. Yeah, he wasn't joking around, and I was like, "Damn, Mackie's got a big personality."
Yeah. Family Feud also with the Kardashians and Kanye on that. Did you see that or
no?
Oh, it was good. It was fun. Well, I don't know if it came out. It didn't come out yet, but I saw Steve Harvey talking about it on Ellen.
Oh, gotcha. Dang, bro. I'm gonna tweet this out. I'm gonna say that RB3 just called out the black man out of Infinity War.
No.
As the troublemaker. It's a troublemaker.
Don't clip this out, people. Don't clip this. I don't want to get accused. I don't want
black on black crime right now, dude. This is some messed up shit, bro. Back to Taika Waititi.
Yo, we went deep, man. We went far into this rabbit hole. Back to Boy. By the way, this is probably my favorite Taika Waititi movie. Yeah.
Tell me why.
I love movies that deal with the growing pains of like becoming an adult. I love movies that deal with like family dysfunction, but I also love that this movie addresses like the overall themes of like how how our interpretation of the past is different than like the actual reality of like our past situations as well.
Sure.
Like how he colors this grandiose picture of his father as being like a war hero in like World War II, which wouldn't even make sense. Or
that scene when he comes out with the spear, is it a spear? He's just waving it around, and they're like running away, and it's like black and white. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff like that is just like how we color our past through our reality and I love like the whole childhood wonder and how that's explored as well. Even in a younger kid who I think
plays
is the youngest brother. I can't remember that character's name. I think they called him Egg a lot, which I think they called a lot of people Egg in this movie. But
sure.
But yeah, he his whole thing of like feeling responsible for like, you know, his mother dying during his childbirth or whatever, and he's like real little. You know, and like he, you know, but he
interprets it as superpowers.
Yeah. How he again, like a reinterpretation of the past and how he like perceives that to be his reality.
Yeah.
So I think this movie is deep on like a lot of ways, and I think the whole theme of like how we look at the past is also something that's also consistent, I think, in Waititi's films.
Absolutely,
as well,
that scene where we see him actually living that moment, Boy living that moment of the death of his mother.
Yeah.
It's more emotional than anything else.
Yeah.
And you can see how Taika balances, technically for all intents and purposes, a comedy, but he still deals with the emotional scenes and the emotional moments head on, pretty much, at the right moments of the film. I think that's what makes him so good as a director, is dealing with the moments at the right time and fusing it with comedy the right way, in my opinion. And I think he does it right. But it's also genuinely really funny, quotable moments, like you said, with the World War II scene is really funny.
Yeah.
I still think he's the captain of the rugby team. He's the world record for punching everyone with one punch.
With one punch.
And it's like the most ridiculous things, and he keeps having it throughout the film, and it's that interpretation. It's also, I can't believe I didn't mention this before, it's also breaking that fourth wall, which Taika Waititi is a genius at in so many of his films, especially probably my favorite Taika Waititi film, which we'll talk about later. But breaking that fourth wall and addressing Boy head on, and how he's kind of telling a story. When he says, you know, I'm Boy, and, you know, this is my story. And obviously it doesn't do that a lot, but it's that way to tell the audience what journey he's going on. Basically.
Yeah, I also think it's good it gives you the window of whose movie this is really about. Because it's easy to see this movie as, it's a movie about the dad coming back to, but it really frames it through the perspective of the kids, and I think that's the best part about it. I also love like the little touches of subtlety that they add throughout. You know, how Boy and the one friend of his, how he has a crush on the one girl. I think her name is I can't remember the girl who he has a crush on. But he also has a friend. Who's a girl who like likes him, but he doesn't see it back. So like there's one scene where they're like burning fireworks or whatever, and he's like burning his, and then she's like, oh, like the girl that likes him, but he doesn't realize it. He's like, oh, can I do one? He's like, no, I have to save it. I'm gonna do it strictly with my dad later. And then the other girl comes over that he likes, and like it just immediately cuts to her using it. But it goes to that like little close up of like the girl in the background just being like, you know, little, and I think like those little touches are really funny. I also think Taika Waititi's fascination for Michael Jackson comes full frontal in this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's funny because, you know, his next movie is actually a stop motion animation about Michael Jackson's monkey, Bubbles.
That's
right.
From
Netflix. So I'm like,
holy
it's kind of a
crap.
callback to the Michael Jackson fascination he has.
Yeah, and it's funny how like his interpretation of Michael Jackson too is like how it's like this ridiculous thing. Like he's sold like 1 million copies, and he's lives in a giant mansion with snakes and a monkey. And it's like, that's kind of true. He did sell like 1 million friggin' CDs and,
or I guess records back then.
Records. He did sell like 1 million records, and he did really live with like a monkey and like a snake. Like, it's really funny how like you're like, damn, that's actually pretty spot on for Michael Jackson.
80s were a crazy time.
It was a crazy time, but that's so true as far as like his fascination with Michael Jackson, and having like him do the moonwalk, having his dad like kind of do that. Is it Billie Jean?
Yeah,
Billie Jean.
little dance moves and yeah.
But it is kind of, you're right, it is that kind of love of something that really comes out in these films. Any last word on Boy before we move on? Do we want to talk about what's go ahead and say your last word.
I just think, again, like I said, Boy is probably my favorite of his, and I think like I'm a sucker for coming of age movies, and I think this movie does it really well. The dysfunctional family, and it even addresses a lot of themes that I think aren't touched on a lot, which is there's like a brief little moment where the main kid is kind of thinking about, like, I guess, he's like leaning off the bridge, kind of thinking about suicide, and I think that's really interesting that like a movie kind of addresses how youth can kind of think about those like grander ideas beyond what most people are reasoning with. So I think that's really brilliant as well. I also think it's funny that Taika actually plays the father throughout this movie, and the little gang that they had.
That's right. I forgot to mention that, dude. Yeah, that's hysterical. It's funny because you really, and I know this is a side note because we were about to move on, but Taika puts himself in every one of his films. I think every single one of his films.
Yeah, this is probably like the biggest part that he played. Yeah,
true. The other ones are more small parts.
More small parts. Yeah.
And it's so funny because I've seen interviews with him, and he's like, people ask me why I put myself in these films, and it's because I got a big ego. I gotta be in the films. I mean, look at me. And he's just literally, and it's like, I've seen another person ask him like the same question. It's like, oh, what's the thing? And he's like, I think I'm cool and I'm a good actor. And he never gives like a really like straight answer. So I don't know. I just find that funny how that's kind of his. And after a while, I'm just like, maybe he just thinks he's cool and he thinks he's a good actor, wants to be in a movie. Maybe he's not joking. But yeah, he puts himself in every single one of his films. And this one, it is, I feel like, as far as like on an acting level, because he's a good actor too, this might be his best role. Can I say that?
Yeah,
would you agree with that?
I think so, yeah. I mean,
as far as like dealing with different ranges.
Yeah.
Because he's always funny in all his movies, but I feel like as far as like dealing with different ranges, this might be his best role.
I mean, he has a lot of big emotional breakdowns towards the end of this film. The whole idea of like it's another idea of like addressing the past, how his character is like literally digging up the past, trying to figure out where he hides his money. So he's having this kid do it. But then the kid ultimately finds the money, but it gets eaten by the goat. So it's like how the past is subverted in its own kind of way. Also, I think another weird coincidence in all of Taika's films, man, the animals, man. The animals, the goat plays a big part in this one. Hunt for the Wilderpeople obviously has a lot of animal hunting in there. His first movie is literally titled Eagle versus Shark, where they're dressed up as eagles and sharks.
What do you think it is? Because you can give yours and I can give mine, but what do you think it is?
I mean, I don't know.
Do you think it's love? Do you think it's fascination? Do you think he finds animals funny?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I think the funny aspect. But I mean, fuck, man, Hunt for the Wilderpeople. There's a lot of animals that get shot, man. That's really crazy, man. Yeah, I'm like, dang, man, these pigs are like literally getting stabbed right now. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good point. Moving on. Let's move on to my favorite Taika Waititi film, which is What We Do in the Shadows. Now, before we get into it, RB3, we had a small little discussion beforehand, before we started recording, where we got in a fight. Y'all, we were fighting, y'all. We were bickering.
Was it a fight? Oh, no.
It wasn't a fight. It was literally like 2 words.
Yeah.
But Taika Waititi did one of my favorite films called What We Do in the Shadows. I put it in my list of top, I think it was 2015. It was 2014. I put it in my list of top 10 2015 films, I think. When we did those back in the day, I think it was me, Cody, Copster, and JT before you did.
Yeah.
But I put it pretty high. I think I had it like number 5, something like that. But I freaking love this movie, and there's a lot of reasons why, and I'm about to say them right now, RB3, so get ready. I have not been shy talking about my fascination since I was like 7 or 6 years old with vampires. I love vampire culture, vampire like movies, books, like series, vampire like society shit, like like everything vampirism, like video games, vampire video games, like vampire comics. Like I've been fascinated with vampires since I was a kid. I actually went on JT Movie Things and just talked about vampires for like 2 hours, and no one listened to it, obviously. But it's one of those things where it's like I've always had a deep fascination with vampires, like to the core, and having this film be about vampires in this day and age and how they live their lives day in day out, and how it's just a ridiculous just comedy about what vampires try to do to live in this world and shit, is the most appealing pitch you can give to me. Like if someone says to me like, I want to make a movie, it's a mockumentary about vampires living together and they're just living their life, and it's ridiculous moments that happen to them and how they survive in the real world, but they're just ridiculous characters basically. That to me is like, that log line is just, I'm sold. I was sold before the movie started, and the fact that the movie delivered pretty much on all fronts for me is just like, it's probably my favorite comedy in recent years. Like it's that much. I love this movie so much. I think it's hysterical. I think the premise is funny. I think Taika is hysterical in this movie too. I think he's hysterical as being like the straight man, being like the guy who's trying to keep the house together. The what is it called? The mother den, the house den, I guess you can say. But he's basically the mom of the house, and he's trying to keep everything together and organized and shit. And I freaking love this movie, man. I think this is what I feel like all the other movies we've talked about previously gave Taika a pretty big opportunity, but I think this movie is what everyone kind of quotes him on as far as being like, let's give this guy a shot. He did What We Do in the Shadows, and that's kind of how he progressed in his career. I don't know if you would agree with that. Yeah. But our fight was because you hate this movie, RB3. And I said, if you hate this movie, you got no soul, bro.
Whoa, I hate this movie. I just thought it was cool. I thought it was funny. I mean, I liked it, you know? I like it.
You're breaking my heart, man. I'm glaring at you right now. I'm using my vampire powers right now that you don't even know what's gonna happen.
Ace is silently judging me at the moment.
I am vocally judging you. No silence here, man. No, I'm playing with you, man. Yeah, what's your deal with this movie, man? Do you think it's just not funny?
I mean, I like it. No, I mean, it's funny. I don't know. I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, I guess
you're breaking my heart, man.
I mean, vampires is cool, man. I like the Twilight vampires, bro. That's why I like.
You mean not vampires?
I like the sparkly skin. Man. I like the.
Oh man.
I like the romance.
I'm being broken, man. I feel like I'm breaking up with someone right now. I feel like this is me breaking up with my New Zealand girlfriend. Elizabeth. Damn it! Stop saying that name. Take that name out of your mouth, boy. Oh man,
we jump at each other like intensely, like the vampires in this. Like,
oh yeah, we start floating. We're just like floating and glaring at each other. Yeah. Yeah, man, I love this movie. I love vampires. And you're a hater, bro.
No, I'm not hating.
It's over. No, I think you and funny. Me, we're done.
No. Yo, so what I think what works about this movie is that, like, I think it's really funny how they like subvert a lot of the traditional like when they bring in the one girl and it's like, oh, I so thought she was a virgin, guys. I'm so sorry. She looks like a virgin. All right, you know, it was like
they're like obsession with virgin blood.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, what do you want, virgin blood? I forget the exact line, so I'm probably gonna mess this up. But he's like, I mean, it's virgin blood. It's cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's
man.
like he says, like, imagine this. Imagine It's like, imagine if you want a sandwich, but you just know nobody else has fucked it. That's pretty.
That's so. I forgot about that line. That's so true. Yeah.
So I get it.
There's so many moments in this movie that are quotable. Yeah. For me, I even think the beginning is really funny when he's like, "All right, group meeting." Yeah. What's the freaking guy's name? I'm gonna butcher his name. But when he's gathering everyone for the group meeting. And it's like in the very beginning of the film too, so we're like introducing all the characters. Mm-hmm. But it's the ancient, super old vampire, Peter.
Oh, Peter, yeah, Peter.
So when he's like, "What's Peter, man? Yeah, we can't do the meeting without Peter, mate. We just can't." And he's like, "Peter's 3,000 years old. He's not coming to the meeting." It's just like basic shit like that, or like even I forget the rock star guy. Remember the rock star guy? Like when he's telling the story of how he got turned into a vampire. I think his name is John Deacon. But when he's telling the story, he's like, yeah, I mean, I got taken up to this castle, and then this freaking vampire just jumped out at me and went, I'm a vampire. And it was Peter. It just turns to Peter. And now I'm a vampire. And it's just like this. That's literally what happens. And it's just Peter's like chilling, and he's got the fangs out. And he's like this traditional like Nosferatu vampire, old school, very traditional, sleeps in like a coffin, like is super ancient, doesn't talk. Like the levels and the themes of being a vampire fan, this is the stuff I know. I think that's why maybe I like it so much, is because it's like, you know, like you said, it's like, you know, putting it down and subversing the themes of vampires, and like the rock and roll vampire, we've seen that so many times. The ancient creepy vampire that lives in a castle, we've seen that. The Nosferatu, the Dracula vampires, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The Lost Boys. I think the Lost Boys is what they're going for when talking about the Deacon.
But it's all these themes of vampires that we've seen in different movies, and they put them all together in a house, and how that awkwardness and that weirdness, but they're still brothers because they're vampires, but they're weird.
They're totally different.
Yeah, like, and like the new guy that keeps coming in, and he's like still growing his teeth and stuff, and he's like, hey guys, I'm here to, we're gonna be. It's like, dude, you suck, get out of here, man. And then they love the human. Hey, what's this guy's name? Doug? Is it Doug? I want to say, oh no, Stu. Is it Stu? Yeah. But when they're like, when they're talking about him, and he's like, yeah, I wasn't sure about bringing in a human, but he's a pretty cool guy. I mean, he told me about the internet, and he's like surfing the internet and stuff like that. Like all those funny themes that come up in the movie, and the way it kind of all flows together in this weird like mythology is just funny to me.
Well, I think you know, particularly talking about the new guy and the human aspect, I thought that was a commentary on like the new generation of like the Twilight, the me generation of vampire lovers, you know, like
the wrong generation.
But I think all of them kind of, I think this is again another theme of like Taika's filmography, taking a look at the past and kind of satirizing the past and making light of that and making fun of it. And taking that and subverting it in his own way. So it's like you get all the old traditional, like you said, the Dracula style one, the Nosferatu like 1920s one, the Lost Boys like 80s, you know, and how like the young kids play into that as well. So I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, like I think you're painting this like I don't like this movie. Ace. I like the movie. I think ultimately what I like about it the most is that how it like I said, satirizes the traditional themes of vampirism, but it also makes it its own kind of heartwarming family dysfunctional kind of thing too. How like all have their own separate identities and clash with each other in that respect as well. So. I mean,
it hits all the Taika themes. Is basically what you're saying. Yeah. As far as doing the functional, dysfunctional family, dealing with situations that are not normal. Like, dude, I know that it's even scenes like where it's super like gory and bloody, like the scene where he's like trying to eat the girl, and it's like he can't because it's like too much blood. And it's coming out at the same time. You know what scene I'm talking about? When he's like, oh shit, damn it, I sprung a leak, and he's like trying to like drink the blood, but he can't. He's like, damn it. But it's like even situations like that, which are like more horror based situations, are funny, and I didn't think you could do that as far as making moments like that, which are, you know, horror movies do this stuff, but it's satirizing it to the point of like how shitty it is to actually drink blood from a human being, and then it's like, oh, it's really shitty because you can't like control the blood and everything. And it's really cool in movies, but in real life it's like super shitty if there was really a vampire. And I love the idea too of like the lady doing favors for him because she wants to be immortal. She's like, please, I
just want the eternal wine.
It's like, you mind getting me another coffee, one of those sandwiches over there? And he's like asking for shit, and she's like, damn it, I've done this for years. Make me a vampire already. It's like so funny. Like, that's so true. How many people would be like kissing up to be a vampire? Like that would totally happen. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I just think it's funny. I think the whole, like you said, like the whole like deadpan kind of thing that he keeps doing with the like the mundane like reality of being a vampire. And I think that's, you know, it kind of takes from like the Edgar Wright, like with the Shaun of the Dead kind of like tone too. Like if vampires would really exist in the same way as zombies exist in Shaun of the Dead, how would that like interact with like the real world? So I think it's I also like how they adapt the kind of style of like the Office style humor, also deadpan as well, but like the mockumentary kind of puts you right into. I mean, that's kind of a trend that's kind of trendy in television right now too. So it's dope how that worked out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great moments in this movie too. I love when the cops show up and they can't find what's going on. Remember?
Yeah.
They're like, "What's going on here?" And it's like some like dead body and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Oh, there's freaking you can't leave the faucet on, mate. You can't do." And it's like they find like the dumbest shit, but they can't find like the awful shit.
Yeah.
And there's like a vampire on the roof, and they totally don't see it. They're like, "Oh, look at the wall, man. You gotta clean that wall, mate." And it's like they can't find like what's happening.
Yeah.
And it just goes on for like 5 minutes, but it's still funny to me.
Yeah.
I think that's hysterical. The situation with the werewolves too, when they run into the werewolves and they start like talking shit to each other, but they're just bad. They're not cool at all. Like that's super funny to me too. Like all those moments that work together, like you said, building a universe of vampires in the real world and the natural comedy that breaks into that, I guess is what it is too. And I love too the way they explain the camera guys and how they keep losing camera guys.
Yeah.
But it's one of those movies that it just makes me laugh every time I see it. And even though I know the lines for the most part, it still makes me laugh and it's still enjoying to me. And the fact that they announced it for like an FX show, like that's to me that's awesome, dude. I mean, FX is putting out, like you said, some dope shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta, Legion,
yeah.
like they make some good stuff, man. I mean, back in the day too, they've made some shows that people like.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy is
Sons
one.
of Anarchy.
I know a lot of people are on the Americans. I know the Americans.
I've always wanted to see that too.
I've always wanted to see it. Yeah, I never got.
It's like 5 seasons, which is why I'm like, bro, I'm good.
I don't want to jump in right now. There's that, and there's also Archer, of course. Archer,
yeah,
I love Archer as well. But yeah, no, they FX. Unfortunately, they dropped the Deadpool show.
That's right, they did.
Which
Yeah,
dope. But no, I definitely like, and you know, going to Taika, back to Taika too. I think you know, the reason why this movie between Boy and this one, it took like a longer gap of time to make is because in between he was actually tapped by Disney to write Moana, the original draft, which ultimately, I think he said in interviews they completely do away and they just ultimately like parted ways with it. But he left Moana, I think, in large part to go on and do like What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilderpeople. So
interesting. I didn't know that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Trying to make up for hating this movie.
Hey man, I want to see Taika's version of Moana. That's why I don't like this.
Taika's version of Moana would be insane. Like I can't imagine it. Like it'll be. I'd imagine it'd be hysterical. Oh, speaking of freaking Jermaine's in that movie too. And he's
That's why that's why he was cast originally, is because of the Taika connection. But
that's right. Yeah, I like Moana. I
love Moana. Yeah,
I think it's great. But but seeing the Taika version would be interesting too.
Yeah.
I still want to see a Phil Lord and Chris Miller Han Solo movie, man. Where's that film at, bro?
They threw all those.
Bro, they're like Kathleen was like, burn it. Burn it. I don't want you to throw it away. I want you to burn that shit. As far as like
I want to see the Snyder cut of Justice League. Release the Snyder cut.
Release the Lord and Miller cut, bro. That's my new hashtag. That's after I see Han Solo. Even though I'm sure it's gonna be a fine movie. Yeah. I'm sure it's.
The trailer sold me, man. The trailer.
I told my mom the story a couple days ago. I was like, Mom, this is the story, and blah blah blah. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, blah blah blah. They made some of my favorite movies. I still think Phil Lord and Chris. They really did make. I love 21 and 22 Jump Street. Like it's literally like one of my all-time favorite comedies.
Yeah.
Like that 2 series. And Lego Movie is like one of my all-time favorite animated movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not interested in a Han Solo movie. And I was telling my mom too. She's like, because she asked me that. She's like, who wanted to see a Han Solo movie? And I'm like, I'm asking the same question. Like I'm sure it'll be a fine movie, but still. Lord and Miller, man. And Taika Waititi. Released the Waititi cut. Or what did you call him at Comic-Con?
What did he or something like that?
No.
Titty Watiti.
Yeah, Titty Watiti. Oh my god, that's classic, man. Literally, we reacted to Thor Ragnarok trailer at Comic-Con. You can still find it. It's on the Schmoes Now
I think
channel.
that's actually like the biggest view
it
reaction
is.
that we did.
And then they're trying to... No, I'm playing. But for real, like... all the comments, we're like, whoa, there's a lot of comments. And we start reading the comments, and they're all like, titty, white titty, titty, white titty, titty, white titties. Titty, white titties. But like, all the comments are literally making fun of him.
Oh, man. Yeah, I really scooped the pooch on that one.
And we thought we were like, yo, all these comments. And it's just all making fun of us.
Making fun of me. You did
making fun of you. Yeah. But still, that was funny. Either way, What We Did in the Shadows is hysterical. I can't wait for the series. There's so many lines that are great. I love when they find the internet and they see the sunset. They're like, oh, that's how it looks like, because they've never seen one.
Right.
I love when he's like on eBay and he thinks eBay is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, I forget his name in the film. Vlad. They're like, Vlad, what are you? It's like, leave me to my dark bidding. And he's literally bidding on eBay. Yeah. Like, moments like that to me are just funny. And I just enjoy what Taika brought to this movie. And even the ending, too, when he's like, I found my lost love. You know, she's a little young for me. You know, a lot of people are going to be staring at us because she's so young. And it pans and it's like an ancient lady. She's like 100 years old. She's all wrinkly. And it's like, people are going to judge us because, you know, like I'm this old guy hunting this young lady. And it's like this old lady. She's like nodding. She's agreeing. Like, that to me is hysterical, dude. Yeah. I don't know. I love this movie. I can't wait for it. And you have no soul, RB3. And Twilight vampires are not vampires.
Yeah, man. You tweet this at Taika Waititi and he watches this, think I don't like it. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. He's about to blacklist you.
Yeah, blacklist me. Yeah, Jesus. I already can't get a job at Warner Brothers anyways. Thank you very much. Like.
I think I've been the one. I've destroyed Warner Brothers on this podcast. I've legit destroyed them. And I'll probably work for them next week. Who knows? Next week, I'm going to get a job at Warner Brothers, guys.
Hey.
Let's move on to Hunt for the Wilderpeople,
yeah.
which is film, a 2016 film that got pretty good attention, and it launched the career of that kid, who I'm going to bring his name up right about now. His name is Julian Dennison.
He's playing Deadpool's
who plays Ricky,
buddy.
who's now playing
Deadpool
Deadpool's
2, something like that.
He has a feature role in Deadpool 2, and he seems to be having like a pretty significant role in the movie too.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can thank Taika for that. He's also done some commercials and stuff for New Zealand, which I've seen, which are funny. He also comes from that brand of comedy, which is the New Zealand deadpan style of comedy. And he's funny in this movie too. I think this movie's funny. It's a weird movie for sure, but I think it's a pretty solid film overall, and it's a pretty interesting comedy because obviously there's some weird moments, but that's kind of, it goes in hand with his brand of comedy, which is dealing with difficult moments, tragic moments, and throwing in comedy in there, and how that happens naturally in life. What is your thoughts on Hunt for the Wilderpeople? Because the only review we ever did on this, as far as schmoes related, was Brett's review of it. I don't know if you remember that. Break to the Future.
I do remember that.
When he just randomly was like, I saw Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And we're like, why'd you see that one?
I don't even think the schmoes did for you.
Yeah, I don't think even the schmoes saw it. I don't think even Mark and Christian saw it. Like, he just randomly decided to see that movie because he could see it for free. But, and he said he wasn't for him.
It was an A24 picture, or is this one of those?
That's a great question. I don't think it is, man.
Or is it Amazon something? It's one of those like
you're right.
indie
It is
ones.
Amazon.
It is Amazon.
I think so. I think it's Amazon.
If it's on Amazon, I couldn't watch it on Amazon. God damn it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. We gotta start making shit free, people.
Yeah, dude.
I gotta stop paying for movies.
I think it's on Hulu too.
It's on Hulu though. I did watch it on Hulu.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I did. I paid for one of these movies, man. See, that's my thing, man. I always have like a one paying for a movie like budget per week. You know what I mean? Like, I
rental.
Yeah, rental. Yeah,
me too, man. Sometimes I got to do it, bro. I just gotta rent that movie. But sometimes I'm like, man, can I find it somewhere else though?
Yeah, I literally look
somewhere on the dark web, maybe.
I always go Netflix first, Amazon second, because I feel like Amazon usually has the ones that we talk about a lot the most. Hulu third, And then like I check Filmstruck, I check it like literally. I have so many of them, man.
Yeah,
like,
I have too many, dude. I have some that I have Crunchyroll too. I had Funimation.
I have Sundance,
like all my anime
Sundance.
ones that I have, like Funimation and Crunchyroll, Hulu, Netflix. Like it's a bit HBO.
HBO.
Do you have HBO?
Yeah.
HBO's not cheap, bro.
Yeah, HBO's crazy.
It ain't cheap.
And you know it's fucked up. You know they crop movies on HBO.
Oh, that's
Go.
right. They do.
Yeah. So it really fucks it up. I really have to use HBO as like a last resort now, low key. Like ever since I found that out, like if it's on anything else, I'll try and
shout
check
out
it out
to
there, but.
Patrick Williams who did a video on that. Patrick Williams.
Yeah, Wilson, I think.
Patrick
was it Wilson? No, Wilson's the actor. Patrick Wilson.
No, I think it's
Patrick
Williams.
Yeah, Patrick
Williams or Williams.
Yeah, one of those.
Patrick H. Williams on YouTube. He's cool.
YouTuber.
I like that guy.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Either
way.
You see Kanye tweeted out Nerd Writer's video the other day?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah,
that's dope.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, Nerd Writer did a feature. I think it was Nerd Writer. I might be wrong. Did a feature on one of my favorite all-time Drake songs, Feel No Ways. And he talked about that song. I don't know if have you seen that one?
Yeah, I did see that one.
I freaking love that song. And it's so underrated because no one talks about, because no one likes that album, Views.
Yeah.
No one likes Views.
Yeah.
I think Views is all right, but no one likes Views. But Feel No Ways is like a banger, bro. That shit's dope. And he made like an entire feature, like not feature, but he made an entire video on it.
Yeah.
So shout out to Nerd Writer.
Hey
for
man,
doing that.
Drake's dropping a new one. Hey, I love that Nice For What joint, man.
Oh yeah, people. I saw some people hating on it too.
Bro, that's fire. That's gonna be the hit of the summer, yo.
That beat is fire, dude. That beat's super dope, man.
Yeah, he takes a lot from that one. He rips off a lot. I mean, he rips off everything. Yeah, but this one he ripped off from New Orleans, the bounce music kind of thing.
That's right.
Yeah. Like it's, he starts the song off with Big Frida and everything too. So, I hope he did a remix to that Lemon song too with Rihanna. And Lemon's also like New Orleans. Like
isn't that Nerd though? NERD?
Yes, NERD featuring Rihanna, but he did a remix to it.
Oh,
where he
I haven't
rapped
heard
on it. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm hoping that the direction of his new album is going to be ripping off a lot of bounce music because every album he's ripping off something different.
Sure, that's what Drake does.
Yeah.
It's just the Drake way.
He's gonna he's gonna Drake his way through and rip off. But I hope he rips off New Orleans bounce. I've been low key on the bounce train for a long time.
Nice.
Nobody's ever heard of that, but. I hope he rips that off and brings it up into the mainstream too.
That'd be dope, man.
Yeah.
Because he's done. You're right. He has featured like different types of different parts of the world, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, his whole thing. I mean, everything after Nothing Was the Same is like of course, like Reading This Is Too Late is like the Houston swag rap. Views is like the Canadian Jamaican kind of influence. More Life is the UK grime vibe and with the Jamaican shit. So I think this one's gonna be a mixture of all of that, but with the New Orleans bounce music kind of sound too. So
freaking Drake, man.
Yeah, I'm hoping
playing Fortnite and making albums and buying freaking dope ass beats from people.
Making Ninja
he just buys
Millionaire.
Beats at this point, bro.
Yeah.
Like he's straight up just being like, yo, that's a dope beat. Give me that beat.
Yeah. I mean, you got the OVO workshop, man, and the sweatshop. Writing his rhymes
so true,
for
man.
him, like getting the beats together.
This guy's got a freaking like corporation, bro. Hey, man. Props to him, man.
He knows how to make it hit.
He's doing it big, bro.
Yeah, he knows how to make it hit.
He knows how to make it hit, man.
Yeah.
Back to Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
This
is our weirdest podcast. I swear, dude, we're like freaking lost like 10 pounds of sweat already. We're talking about Taika Waititi, who's probably the weirdest director we've talked about. It's probably the weirdest director we've talked about. But this movie, that kid, I think that kid's funny. I still think that scene where the lady worker is talking about Ricky when he's like, he runs away, he throws stuff, he burns stuff, and it's just showing him like doing all this stuff. And it's like the most like when she said he runs away.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, oh, that he's kind of a criminal. This one. And it's like it's running away is a crime.
Yeah.
And graffiti. And it just shows him doing graffiti. And I'm like, dude, it's that even in itself is like a commentary on like what's considered bad. And it's like the most basic ass shit ever. And it's like, really? That's bad? Like she says like spitting at one point. She's like spitting, like running away, picking up stuff, throwing that stuff. and that kind of in itself is like a kind of a commentary of like what people consider to be like bad behavior of children and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, if
I'm not saying it's good, but I'm just saying.
No, but I think we're from America, so like our bad is like fucking robbing people, shooting people,
getting people hooked on heroin. Yeah. He's like, this was only 13 years old. It's like, yo, but it's But
I'm sure in New Zealand, for them, being bad is like writing graffiti on the wall.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I'm hating on them already. Sam Neill is in this movie in a very different role for Sam Neill.
Very quiet, very dramatic, kind of thing he's going for here.
What do you think about Sam in this movie, as far as, especially on a career projection? Because he's had such a weird career. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially I'm known him the most from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Where he plays Dr. You better get this name right.
I don't know. I don't care about Jurassic Park.
Hey, man. You've broke my heart twice on this podcast already, man. And then you broke it again when you reminded me about my former future wife, man. I mean, you're trying to break it now with Jurassic Park again? No, I'm playing. But I've known Sam from Jurassic Park the most. And kind of he's had kind of a weird career projection. Because he's done like oddball films here and there. Mm-hmm. But he has a specific connection to Taika Waititi with this film. What do you think about his performance in this movie, and also his choice of films that he's done?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I haven't really heard anything of Sam Neill for like the past, since Jurassic Park 3 or whatever. But it's good seeing him pop up in this, and I'm glad to see him, put on a performance here where he is acting as a fatherly figure, like a reluctant hero who's kind of forced into the situation with this kid. I don't think he even really wanted to adopt the kid. I forget the kid's name in this movie.
Ricky.
I don't think he really even wanted to adopt Ricky to begin with. But after his wife dies, of course, he has to put on that front and everything too. So I think he puts on like a real quiet, like kind of a somber. And the way, I relate a lot of these movies to Wes Anderson films, just because that's how I feel like, that's where I feel like Taika takes a lot of his influence from. So I think that in the way that, I think it's kind of a quieter version of what Ray Fiennes did in Grand Budapest Hotel, almost in a way, like the father-son kind of dynamic that they have there between Ricky and the Sam Neill character.
It's also like a combination of like Sam's look and Sam's interpretation of situations as like a deadpan, serious kind of guy in this film, dealing with ridiculous situations kind of thing too.
Yeah,
I think that plays a hand in it too. I don't know if you agree with that.
I agree with that.
But it's one of those things where you see Sam and he's known for being a dramatic actor, but he's placed in a comedy, but he's still kind of a dramatic actor in a comedy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for me, that's kind of the juxtaposition that works with this movie. And like you said, too, it's also him playing that reluctant fatherly figure when he doesn't want to be called uncle in the movie throughout the film.
Right.
And he's kind of like stuck with this kid who's kind of like stuck on him, and he just, repeatedly tries to get rid of him in moments.
Right.
And then reluctantly accepts his role, kind of thing.
Right. And I think that's where Taika's strength is, like the dual arcs that happens between each character. Now they both kind of reflect like the outside of their own communities. I mean, obviously Sam Neill's character is not a Polynesian New Zealander in the same way that Ricky is. They don't identify the same way on a cultural level, but he learns to accept it. He feels like an outsider raising this kid and has to learn to accept that as his son, or I guess uncle, but his son, like he's his adopted son. And it's also like but it's also seeing the kid Ricky develop as his own person, living outside of what was considered acceptable and deemed good, and kind of seen as a criminal in his own, like, kind of, young, juvenile way.
Yeah, that foster care kind of kid who's a troublemaker.
Right, exactly. Who has a hard time getting adopted because of the way he acts, so he feels very insecure about the way he is, but he grows and develops as his own individual being and assimilates to and chooses not to assimilate to society, but for society to assimilate to him in his own kind of way, be his own hero in his story. So I think that's really powerful and deep.
It's also a breakout role for him too. I know we already gave him a shout out, but a second shout out is fine.
Yeah.
As far as him, giving a breakout role, as far as dealing with situations, dramatically and comedically. Obviously, he handles the comedic stuff like a pro, but he's also able to do some, sprinkle in some little dramatic moments too, or at least dramatic scenes with Sam. When he's talking about, his family and his mom and all this stuff, like he has that scene when they're in the freaking wilderness and stuff. And he has that moment with Sam Neill's character. So it is an opportunity for him to do that. What do you think about the mixture of the comedy and does it work in this movie as far as the drama? Because I remember, like we mentioned it before, but Brett said it didn't work for him. Like he didn't feel like the themes of the movie fit with the comedy of the movie. Do you feel like it did?
Well, I think it's very consistent with like the tone of like Boy and Eagle versus Shark, in the sense of like the comedy is there to contrast the tragedy and there to bring levity to the sadness and give you make it a more personal arc instead of just feeling sad all the time, or like happy all the time. It gives you like a wider range and complexity of like emotions and ideas that you're dealing with. So I mean, I vibe with it. To me, this isn't like the funniest movie in the world though. Like I don't really find like killing pigs and animals really that funny. So like there's a lot of that. There's a lot of hunting. There's a lot of shit. I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of keep happening in this movie that is like, okay, I don't really find it funny, but I could see how these characters in this particular group of people that are reflected in this movie can find some levity in these situations. I mean, there's a whole thing where they're like joyriding in the car, like towards the end of the thing, and I don't know, it's a lot of that. I mean, I personally find like the more simpler stuff the funniest,
more
moments.
Dialogue stuff.
Yeah,
funny.
more of the dialogue stuff
too.
funny. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, like the interactions, like
more than the ridiculous stuff. That happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah. So I think that's where the film succeeds in a lot of ways too, is the fact that it's able to give like this really nice dialogue, kind of it draws the characters through the dialogue in its own kind of way. And you understand who these people are just by the way they speak and the way they talk to each other. So I think that's powerful as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm surprised we haven't mentioned that before in all of Taika's films. I think that's where he kind of is at his bread and butter, is dialogue. Mm-hmm. Like he's dope at dialogue. Like he's really good at, like you said, defining characters just at the way they talk to each other. Like just the way they talk to each other is enough to know, oh, I kind of know where this guy's coming from, kind of thing. And you see that throughout all his films, and it's very interesting. That's a good thing to point out for sure. I agree with you. I feel like some of the ridiculous stuff, some of the animal stuff, God bless him. But at the same time, I can counter that and say there's actual people who are like hunters and stuff, and it's much worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think to those people, it's probably, it probably affects people. I think, maybe it's more of a cultural thing too. Maybe if you're from New Zealand,
it probably is, yeah.
A lot of stuff more, you probably get it a lot more too. But
that's very true.
Yeah.
Maybe over there it's it's probably super common or something.
Yeah.
I mean over here it's super common too.
Over here, yeah.
It's pretty damn common.
It's not common in California though.
That's true. It's common in Arizona where I'm from, as far as like people wanting to go hunting and stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah, just because I'm from Arizona. But it's also one of those things
where rifles in the streets.
Oh, believe me, they do. But it's one of those things where I've personally, it's hard for me to judge when it's stuff like like the people who do like rhino hunting and lion hunting and shit, or like elephant, like fuck those people, right? But when it's like I don't know, they're gonna shoot birds or some shit, like it's hard for me to judge them on a purely moral level, but on a personal level, I don't think I can, to be honest. Like I don't see myself even killing an animal, to be honest. Like my buddies one time took me hunting, and I just chose not to. Just because that was like a personal decision of mine. It wasn't even like me judging my friends. They can do it if they want. I do that a lot, obviously, if you know me. But I it's difficult for me to put myself in a position of judgment. I try not to do that in any situation, just because I'm such a weird guy, and a lot of people do a lot of stuff that I don't do, but it's not me judging them, if that makes sense.
I feel that.
So for me, that's the same way with people who hunt. As far as, like, again, I already mentioned the people who take it too far.
Right.
But as far as the people, like I said, who do this stuff on the normal and who live in, like, freaking, I don't know, Iowa, and who shoot birds and pigeons.
Yeah.
Sure. If they want to do that, go for it. I'm not going to do it, but if you want to, go for it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
That's the same with me.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Thor Ragnarok, which is his next film, and which is obviously his big break, and it's obviously his introduction.
It's like American cinema. Jesus, that IMDb page.
I know. Yo, that IMDb page is fire, bro. Look at that shit.
I need to screenshot that and put that as the graphic. Jesus.
Bro, do it. No, like at least like put it up in this moment right now. As we're talking about it.
I'll probably forget, but
oh, you probably will. But I've talked about it before. I mentioned it before we even got into it. But I adore this movie. I said when we reviewed it, or did we even review it? Well, whatever. When we mentioned it before, I said it was in my top 3 MCU films. I still stand by that. I think it's just genius on so many levels, as far as like satirizing moments that shouldn't be satirized and bringing that's what I love about the movie the most, man, is the fact that we've talked about all of Taika's films, and all of Taika's films are what? Very Taika. You come into the MCU, a literal machine that just poops out movies. Like, that's what it does. And so many people that if you ask a normal person, if you ask a random ass lady walking down the street, what do you think of those Marvel films? Because they don't even call it MCU. They just call it those Marvel films. Mm-hmm. They will probably be like, they're kind of all the same. Like, you've heard that before, right? Mm-hmm. People always kind of say that. That's their big criticism of Marvel. And to come in and take an indie film director and give him a ginormous budget and give him a giant machine that keeps going, and for him to make it 100% Taika, that to me is just like, I was blown away by that. I was like, oh shit, he really kept it like super New Zealand-y. Like, just watching the movie, I was like, shit, this is very New Zealand comedy and super deadpan comedy and super Taika Waititi. I think that's what I loved about it and appreciated about it the most, was the fact that he didn't shy away from bringing his culture into the movie. And I love that. I was like, that's the kind of director that we need nowadays, as a director to take his background, his upbringing, his culture, his interest, his passions into any kind of film, including a giant blockbuster movie. And what happens so many times nowadays in Hollywood is that the studio executives tell a director what to do instead of trusting a director. And here you have a situation where it seems like Kevin Feige and Marvel were like, go for it, and just did his movie, which that's so rare, man. Like, that really is incredibly rare. And that's why, for me, out of all these giant MCU movies, it's one of the most original MCU movies. And I found that so refreshing, especially with movies that deal with comedy in every single one of the movies. Every single MCU movie is some sort of action comedy, right? Some more action than others, some more drama than others, but all of them deal with some sort of comedic situations. And the fact that he's able to bring in a much more different style of comedy, where it's like comedy is one of the most subjective themes in movies, one of the most subjective things that you can do in a movie, and yet he brought his original style and his very New Zealand deadpan Taika Waititi style into the MCU and made it his own. Like, I don't know, I just really love that about the movie, and also because Thor is my favorite. I've said it a million times, Thor is my favorite freaking Avenger. He's my favorite character in the MCU, and I've loved him like forever. I just have a huge fascination with that kind of Shakespearean, kind of over-the-top style that Thor has. So that's obviously plays hand in hand with it. But I think it's such a great blend and a great original project that he can bring into the MCU, and it worked. I don't know. What do you think after rewatching this one a few times?
Yeah, I mean, definitely after the first time I saw it, I didn't like it as much as you, and I think we maybe even talked about it.
We did, yeah.
Somewhere, I don't know if we did like a formal review of it, or we did.
I think we talked about it somewhere, right?
It was probably during the top 5 thing, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Did we do something the week after the Marvel Studios?
I think we did.
Maybe we did.
MCU,
I don't know. Maybe
did
I was
we do like
mistaken.
an MCU thing?
We did a Marvel Studios one, but that was before Thor Ragnarok, I think.
Gotcha.
And then maybe it was like the week after we did, like Alexander Payne plus Thor Ragnarok review or something like that. Gotcha. Maybe, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, yeah.
But now, rewatching it, what do you think?
Rewatching it, okay, so here's the thing. I saw it 3 times, okay? Saw it once in theaters, saw it once when it came out on Blu-ray, and then I recently saw it with the Wangers. which will go up tomorrow if you're wondering, the Wangers Patreon. And then, so here's the thing. First time I saw it, I didn't really like it that much. Second time I saw it, I really was high on it. I was like, whoa, what did I was sleeping on the movie. Like, I really loved it. And like, I was going on and on about it. This third time around, I'm a little more in the middle. I think I'm more of like, yeah, this is.
I'm blaming one person.
Oh, right.
Brian Paris. That's the only name drop you're gonna get, bro. No, I'm playing.
Brian. Did you listen to our show?
Yeah, I'm playing with you, man. I haven't even listened to it.
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, I don't think Brian listens to our show.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I don't know. Something he likes our tweets sometimes, so maybe.
Hey man, hey man, I'll take anything we can get.
Yeah.
But either way.
Yeah, so
am I right in saying that Brian was the hater?
Well, no. Well, actually, I mean, see, Brian and Max thought the same way I did. Like when I first left.
Oh, that's right, Max. So, screw you, Max.
Yeah.
You too.
No,
that's the only name drop you're gonna get in this.
No, see,
I keep saying that.
Yeah. Max is my guy though, man.
Yeah, Max. I like Max.
But see, okay, so that's our so there was their second time watching, and they enjoyed it more too. I think where I got pulled out the third time watching it, and I think where I kind of there's probably more clearly of where I feel about this movie. I love what they do thematically. I love what they do emotionally with many of the characters. I just think making Thor dumb is like not cool to me.
I do remember you saying that.
Yeah. And I just think like ultimately at the end of the day, that's where it's ultimately going to keep this movie from like capping out as like a top 5 Marvel movie for me or whatever. I just think there's so many, you could do like, I don't know. To me, it's like Thor, such a good character. And of course they changed the character up a lot. I mean, they were influenced a lot by, I know Chris Hemsworth said in an interview once that he changed up the character of Thor after watching like Kevin Smith reviewed Thor 2 and didn't like it. So he changed up the character and kind of made it fresher for that in that sense. Yeah. So they were really trying to do something different and reinvent it completely. And I totally respect that. I just think I just don't like the idea of making Thor dumb. Sure. Essentially. But everything else, and I think that plus some of the early comedy, like when he's like talking to Surtur, like I didn't really like that scene. But I did like the scene. I love the scene after when he's like flying and like running against the dragon and like all that kind of stuff. I love that. And I think, Hela's like a weak point for me too. Not a negative, but a weak point.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And there's some other.
She's not bad, but she's just okay.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
She fits her role in the movie for me, right? I'm talking about me.
Right, and I think I love that Taika makes fun of like the older Marvel movies. I love that he does that, and I think that's great. I do wish he had a little more respect for like the past Thor movies in the sense that just from a visual standpoint, you know how like when you watch like Thor 1 or Thor 2 and you see Asgard and there's like the space and the stars in the background, all this like beautiful imagery and stuff. And this movie just kind of makes it dull and gray, like with clouds, clouding it up. So I do kind of wish it went back to like the beauty that is Asgard.
Sure.
And the beauty that is like some of the characteristics of Thor. But other than that, other than those elements, I totally love the movie. I love the humor of like making fun of like the Avengers, the past Avengers films. I love Loki's arc. I love the Grand Man. I love pretty much everything else about the movie, and I think everything else is very consistent with also Taika's filmography as well. Like the whole idea of like addressing the past, what happens after Odin dies, the dysfunctional family between Thor and Loki, Hela and Odin.
Sure.
As a unit, as a family unit, and how like looking at the past was going to help us push us into the future. How fulfilling a prophecy is actually going to push the people of Asgard into a new direction, new kind of thing. So I think all those thematic themes and beats work really well. I agree with those. I definitely want to talk about that because obviously when people talk, it's a comedy essentially. I think this movie's a comedy. Yeah. And I think what turned me off when seeing it, sorry to cut you off, but I think what turned me off when seeing it when it was in theaters was the fact that we did get Guardians and then Spider-Man Homecoming and then Thor Ragnarok, like 3 comedies back to back to back. I think to me, I was like, all right, enough. But I think, giving it some time and then post Black Panther and post Infinity War,
but that's what I was going to say. The fact that, first and foremost, it is a comedy. However, like you said, what it deals with the family stuff and what it says about the family stuff. And also, when it talks about, I love, and I told this to my mom recently, because she recently saw the movie as well, is I love how it deals with like Asgard got their hands dirty. Odin isn't this clean goody two-shoe king. He killed some people. He massacred some cultures. When Hela was like, why do you think Asgard's so freaking beautiful and shit? It's because we freaking took everything and we did whatever we wanted. And that kind of imperialistic point of view and that breaking of the mural scene I thought that was dope and so unexpected. And I was like, shit, they're actually treating that very interestingly. And I thought in a very positive, not positive in the sense that this is a good thing, but in the sense of like very realistic. It's very realistic. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And that puts it much more in a ridiculous Marvel comedy. That's such a grounded thing to do, and such a grounded, one of the most grounded thing in all the Thor movies is making in that imperialistic version of Asgard, making it like a U.S. kind of thing, or making it like a Britain kind of thing.
How governments like rewrite history in favor of showing like the democracy.
I love that shit. I don't know what you thought about that, but for me, I was like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense. And the way that they brought it back to like the real world, as far as like actual countries doing that. And taking from other cultures and stuff.
We almost went an entire episode, Ace, without talking politics or religion. We almost did it. We didn't talk religion yet, but politics almost.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know. It's not like I'm saying like Hillary 2020 or something, which I won't say.
Nah.
But my thing is like, I feel like that was, for a movie so ridiculous, that was such a grounded thing to do in a movie. And it really grounded it for me as far as Asgard and stuff that felt so insane. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I think exactly. And I think that's what makes it so powerful, I think, as a place in this MCU thing, is like it really does kind of change our interpretation. And again, it's another theme of Taika Waititi's films, like how we perceive the past versus, and how we perceive our heroes and our icons and our role models versus the actual behavior that they participate in versus who they actually are as you know, in terms of Odin being this benevolent, you know, loving, caring leader, where really he's done a lot of dirt in the past too.
He's kind of a dick too.
Yeah.
Remember, did you see Thor: The Dark World recently?
I haven't seen it since it came out.
Bro, he's a dick in that movie, bro. I was talking to the copster and after we did our Doctor Strange. After we did I was like, do you guys see, like, rewatching these MCU movies, because I did the entire MCU rewatch as well. I was like, man, he's kind of a dick in this movie, and so is freaking, not as much as Thunderbolt Ross is in Incredible Hulk. You rewatch that one?
Yeah, Ross.
Holy
I didn't rewatch
shit.
it, but yeah, I do remember watching
it. He's not like that in Civil War. Civil War, he's like, you know,
he's less of a dick.
But in this one, he's like freaking like doing some bad shit, and I'm like, yo, you're kind of the villain. But yeah, for me, the Odin stuff too I like that too. I love the Odin Thor dynamic as far as like the passing of the mantle and the correcting of the mistakes, as far as that, but also Thor's interpretation of Odin. Thor saw Odin as like this benevolent all-father, and he's like, you know, this perfect being, and he's like, Dad, you know, you're the one, you're our leader, you're our vision, you're our future, you're our past. You've done all this great stuff, and Odin's like, you know, my time is over. It's time for the new generation to pick up. It's time for you to lead this new generation. I'm done. And kind of Thor's, you know, relationship with his father and the hints that it brings at it. Even in that silly fight that he has with Hulk, when he closes his eyes and he sees his father, that moment is a very real moment, because he thinks of his dad and he thinks of everything that's built up to this moment, and that's how he gets, you know, stronger. And the fact that at the end of the movie, Odin tells him basically, he's like, oh, you're like more powerful than I am. Your own limitation is what you know, have set for yourself, and you've always limited yourself as like some sort of punishment to yourself too. But if you just fully embrace it, embrace your godhood, basically, you can be better than I am, and you can be stronger than I am. It's basically what he says. And I love that interpretation of the passing of the mantle from a king to another king, but also from a father to a son. Too.
Yeah, and I think that's important when talking about this movie, is how the evolution of Thor as a person who's looking to the past. I mean, that, you know, him losing his eye. That the whole idea of like Odin losing his eye in the original Norse mythology is he loses his eye so he can see into the future, you know? And it's like, you know, that's the same thematic journey that Thor has to go on too. In order to lose his eye, he has to see clearly what the future of Asgard is going to be. And the end of of Asgard is ultimately what he discovers to be Ragnarok. So it's a real crazy thing. Now my question to you is, obviously they set up this movie a lot in Age of Ultron.
Okay.
Yeah, they set up this movie in Age of Ultron. Because I personally think, well, I'll ask you first. Do you think that this whole ending of like destroying Asgard was a Taika Waititi thing, or was that a Marvel thing? Because I have my opinion on it.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. If your question was gonna be, which it's not, but I'm still gonna answer your not be question. If I thought that this is where they were gonna go when they were doing that shit in Age of Ultron, no, not at all. With like freaking, remember that Idris Elba comes out in Age of Ultron, Heimdall, and he's like, "Oh, it's Ragnarok, it's gonna be awful," and it was like, "Yo, they're gonna make like a dark ass movie," and it's like, it's totally not what it was. So as far as that, no. As far as the destruction of Asgard, though, it could be a Marvel thing, but to be honest. No, I think that's a Taika thing. I think Taika wanted that. I think Taika wanted to make it even more of a reboot, and even more of like a satire, and even more of like subduing of Asgard and of Asgardian things and of Asgardian tropes, and just literally just popping it and blowing it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little bit. I think that was a Marvel thing, and I think that's a Marvel thing largely because of because of how they set it up in Ragnarok. I'm sorry, how they set it up in Age of Ultron, and how it was supposed to be this big, like grandiose, like dark event. You know, I think if it was another director, it would have been like this literal dark movie where Thor is facing off with Sutter and he loses and he's forced to like stay in space or whatever. And I think Asgard does get destroyed ultimately because. I mean, honestly, like, if that's, I mean, that's a pretty big chess piece in, like, the Marvel universe that I'm not sure if Kevin Feige is, like, willing to, like, let that go and then lead that into Infinity War, where ultimately, which I hope doesn't happen. I hope the Asgardians don't get touched, honestly. I hope there's no Asgardians
I don't want to make predictions.
In the making of this movie.
It's literally 2 days from now, bro. I was going to say, I hope a lot of things as far as this guy. Thor better... Thor is my favorite, bro. I literally posted this on Twitter. I said if Thor dies, I riot. Like I'm about to like throw some shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to see if Asgardians go down. Bro,
I don't want to see any Asgardians die. No Wakandans get hurt.
I don't know about that.
I don't want to see anybody get touched. I want to see all the heroes walking out of this scratch free, smiling at the end.
Oh, bro, I'm in the opposite camp. I'm like Thor. No die. Everyone else, I guess it's up to you guys. I even when you said that on Twitter, I put hashtag if Cap doesn't die, we riot. Cap better die in this movie, bro. I want to see Captain America go out like a true hero, but die, bro. Like die.
Nah, man, I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Oh, bro, I want a lot of people to die.
Oh, man.
I'm that guy. I'm that cold-hearted guy who's like, come on now. It's been years, man. It's been 10 years of Marvel films. We gotta lose some of these characters, man. We gotta let them die. Let them go.
I mean, I get losing characters. See, here's my thing. I think if the movies
they gotta horrifically die.
I think if movies are marketed around people not dying, and people die, I think I'm okay with it. But they're marketing this movie as if everybody's gonna die.
No, I guarantee, like, I almost feel like this is a bold prediction because everyone's like, how many of them are gonna die? I almost guarantee, and I know this is my bold prediction, one person's gonna die.
Only one?
Literally just one. Like after all this shit, and everyone's like, "Oh, who's gonna die?" Because they still have another one to do. I mean, they've already shot Infinity War Part 4 or whatever it's gonna be called, Infinity War 2 or Avengers 4. I almost guarantee that after all this hubbub about who's gonna die, it's gonna be like one dude. It's probably gonna be Cap.
I don't know. I literally think everybody's gonna die.
I think
that's why I'm hoping nobody dies. I hope nobody dies. So I think everybody's gonna die.
I don't think I'm seriously thinking that you're over. No way, dude. I'm telling you.
I even think Black Panther's dead.
No
and then they're gonna
way.
bring. I think they're gonna bring some sort of
No
bullshit like,
way.
oh, we're gonna bring him back to life. Like I think everybody's gonna die in this one, then like be brought back to life in the fourth one. I think that's what's gonna happen.
I hope they don't do that. But I don't. I thought you were gonna say something else. I think they're gonna be like, Black Panther dies, and there's this whole bullshit about, well, what if Bucky's Black Panther? What about a white guy being Black Panther? I mean, come on.
Hey, that's what they wanted the whole time, Ace. That's what they didn't tell you.
Like how many people have said that on Twitter? It's like, man, these people are so dumb.
They were looking the entire time. They were waiting for an opportunity. All right, let's make Black Panther white. Like, let's do it. I know we couldn't do it the first time, but the second time.
But yeah, for me, I don't know. It could be a Marvel thing. You're right. I think they were gonna make a really dark movie for Ragnarok, especially after the Age of Ultron scene and stuff that was going down. But yeah. I like what they did anyways, and I like that for the most part, they let Taika do a Taika film. Yeah. Which is super rare.
He plays Korg in his movie.
Oh, yeah. Piss off, Ghost. The best line in all the MCU. Best MCU. It's like the most random line. Piss off, Ghost. Or what is it? Like, there goes another Doug. And he just lets him go. It's like, hey, man, my name's Korg. We're going to rescue these people and start a revolution. You want to come? Like it's Korg. Korg in general.
And Loki's like, you guys are in need of a fearless leader.
Yeah. Dude, I love when Loki comes back. He's like, rejoice, for your prodigal son has returned. And he's like, every line in this movie is great, dude. I love that line. Yeah. Or when he talks about Mjolnir, R.I.P. Mjolnir. I'm on that R.I.P. Mjolnir. Bro, dude, I love Mjolnir so much, man. I'm still heartbroken about Mjolnir, man. Still heartbroken about it. I mean, and then we got Stormbreaker, bro. Thor's already cheating. Thor's already cheating.
Stormbreaker, what's that?
Oh, bro. Thor's about to find another girlfriend, bro. In this new movie. I'm spoiling it for you guys. Sorry. Oh, yeah. He's gonna get another girlfriend.
In Infinity War? Isn't Valkyrie the new love interest? Or
I'm telling you, bro, it's this girl named Stormbreaker. She's a new one. I think this is gonna happen. News. No, this is me. This is me thinking. All right, so don't get mad at me. I think it's gonna be Stormbreaker. So Mjolnir's already being replaced, bro. Mjolnir's been replaced. But when Korg is like, it sounds like you've had a close personal relationship with this hammer, and losing it was like losing a close personal friend. And he's like, yeah. That's exactly what it is. And as soon as he said that line, I'm like, shit, yeah. The hammer pulled me off too.
Yeah, hammer pulled me off.
It pulled you off. And he's like, you rode the hammer. Like you were on top riding the hammer, and then you flew away. I just imagine Thor like flying,
like a witch,
like riding the broom. Yeah. Yes, dude. Yes, I want to see like Thor be like Harry Potter riding it. It's like he's riding a like freaking playing that game, whatever it's called, Quidditch.
Right. Quidditch.
But he's doing it with lightning instead.
That's funny. No, I think this movie definitely does the same thing that Iron Man 3 does in the sense of like,
that's right.
What's Iron Man without the Iron Man suit? What's Thor without the
hammer?
Same thing. Spider-Man: Homecoming too. With Spider-Man without the Spider-Man suit.
That's very true.
So I think that's very
That's great. That's very true, and it's also that line from friggin' Odin when he's like, "You're not the god of hammers." You're the god of lightning, or whatever he says. You're the god of thunder, and he like comes back, and it's like the freaking Led Zeppelin song plays, and it plays again. Yeah. When it start playing again, dude, and it's like
I think that's okay. That's
I was just like, oh shit! Oh, I literally said, oh shit in the theater. I was like, let's go! Thor's about to wreck some shit. Like I was just going off, dude. I loved it. I love when the Immigrant song came on again. I was like, hell yeah.
I don't know. I can't fuck with that.
Oh, bro, come on.
I'm sorry, man. Like anything.
Doing it again, bro. I was just like, yo, you got to do it again, bro. Thor's back, baby.
That's probably one of the biggest negatives for me.
Oh, dude.
I don't know. For me, it's like
you've been wrong 4 times on this. You're about don't hit number 5.
What's the 4th time?
5 is you foul out of the game. You can't come back, bro. Next week, it's me and Max, and I call him Robert the whole time.
Just literally like just totally replaced.
We talk about like black film or something.
Max is like, oh,
and he's like, I'm actually really cool with Anthony Mackie.
Yeah. Oh no. Hey man, Anthony Mackie's my guy. Oh, by the way, did you know Max is vegetarian?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, we learned that in the commentary tomorrow for the Wangers.
Hey man, I'm weird. I'm weirder than Max is. I'm some other weird shit.
Are you vegetarian?
No, I'm not vegetarian, but
you just drink water.
Yeah, I just drink water, bro. That's weirder.
No food, just water.
Also some blood on the side, you know. I gotta keep my skin looking young, man.
No,
water can't be enough.
What we do in the shadows.
What we do in the shadows, man. I'm secretly a vampire. That's why I never come out during the daytime. That's why I'm so tan right now too. Anyways, guys, that was our podcast on Taika Waititi. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I think we had a good time. This was something very different. Spread the word, share the love, leave us comments. Let's beat last week's comments, which was 9 comments on the YouTube channel.
Dog. Hey, people, tweet this to Taika Waititi.
Hey, if you do tweet Taika Waititi, we would appreciate it.
Give me a retweet.
Yeah,
because we didn't talk shit.
No, we didn't.
I get scared when we talk about directors and start talking shit,
which we do like all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening all the way through. If you did, probably didn't. You probably just left this on, and you're like, why am I leaving this on?
It's probably like asleep as you left YouTube on autoplay. That's like half of our views on YouTube.
But at least we have an ending to this episode, right?
Right.
No, I'm just playing with you, man.
I fucked up, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all.
But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed our Taika Waititi discussion. Boy was RB3's favorite. Yeah. Mine was What We Do in the Shadows, and Thor's one of my favorites too. But What We Do in the Shadows is my favorite. What is your favorite Taika Waititi film? Let us know in the comments down below. And let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments down below as well. Thank you to our iTunes listeners. For Ace,
RB3,
we are peacing out from the Meeting Of Podcast. Peace out, guys.